You would think that a professional league might, I don't know, protect their rising star, but nope. Either the officials are Atlanta Dream superfans or they need to get their eyes checked right away. This wasn't just basketball, it was a full-fledged action movie, and Clark was somehow cast as the villain, the victim. It appeared as though Caitlin Clark had just taken a hit on live television that looked more like a WWE main event than a WNBA basketball game, and the referees failed to call a call. The WNBA referees were one of the biggest obstacles for Caitlin Clark at the Indiana Fever last season. The front office has made it their mission to restructure the team and bring in more aggressive players to help them advance in the WNBA season and possibly win a WNBA championship. But before any of that could even be completed, we must look at the misguided missile that could destroy everything this upcoming season, and the unsung hero all in one scene. If you missed what happened in Atlanta, consider yourself fortunate. Clark certainly didn't. There was Caitlin Clark, the highlight machine with handles so smooth they should be illegal in all 50 states, just trying to do her job and torched the Atlanta Dream. However, somewhere along the line, basketball rules were replaced with wrestling scripts because what happened on that court wasn't hoops. Rather, it was full contact mayhem. And the referees were either asleep or blindfolded. Let's move on to the next year and another instance of WNBA referees making poor calls when Caitlin Clark, bro, we are only one game away from the season start, and already Caitlin Clark has been fouled incredibly hard. Look back at the referee and think, damn. Picture this Caitlin Clark fresh off melting nets with Steph Curry range jumpers and dishing assists that defy logic. She walks into the game with poise, skill, and the healthy habit of turning elite defenders into traffic cones. Of course, the Dream wasn't having it, and the referees appeared as motivated as a screensaver in sleep mode. Neither a whistle nor a warning. She wasn't just bumped, she was straight up launched. And the referees responded with the energy of someone checking out at 4:59 p.m. on a Friday. You guys got it, and that's exactly how I'm feeling right now, bro. At this point, watch this play, guys. No call whatsoever. But they will call Caitlin Clark. So you have to ask yourself, are these officials even watching the same game as us? The referees kept their whistles firmly in their pockets, possibly waiting for actual blood before calling a foul, or perhaps they were testing out a new rule that said no calls unless the player physically combusts. They will call Caitlin Clark a technical foul because she drove into the paint, eyes on the rim, ready to convert a simple layup, but instead she got a chaotic cluster of flying limbs. How much of the jealousy of Clark is because she gets so much publicity? I don't know how much of the money from endorsements is because she's white, how much is because she's straight, and I don't know what percentage of the women are jealous and how much. I can't get into their heads. I don't know if the black players are more jealous than the white players. They're all jealous. No, I don't think so. Most of them seem to be. All I know is that if the players treat her, physically, the referees must protect her, not because she's Caitlin Clark, but because it's the right thing to do so. Now, if this had been a YMCA pickup game with optional fouls and a 12-year-old running the scoreboard, you might have forgiven it, but this is the WNBA, and the crowd gasped, social media went wild, and the game continued as if nothing had happened, as if Clark had simply slipped on her own greatness instead of being leveled by a three-player blitz. This wasn't just one isolated incident either. It's become a recurring theme since last season when Caitlin Clark was treated like the league's official crash test dummy. Despite everything, Caitlin Clark did what she always does. She dominated, humanized the Atlanta Dream. If you know Nate Tibbetts, he would literally throw 17 different looks at Caitlin every quarter. She would also throw a different look at Caitlin every single possession. But even if you put her in a tornado full of dodgeballs, she would still manage to hit a logo three. She kept the Fever offense flowing like a symphony. It wasn't just basketball, though. It was art. With her street-level flair and quantum-level thinking, Clark sees plays like a grandmaster sees chess moves, orchestrating a masterpiece while the defenders are stuck playing Go Fish. While most would have been shaken, Clark's only response was to tighten her ponytail and make another 30-foot shot. Now, we get to the numbers, the part of the game that won't lie, because even when the referees checked out, Clark checked in, and she finished with stat was a very competitive game throughout, and the starters sat after 3 points, but Caitlin Clark finished with 13 7ths and 6. She could have had 12 to 15 assists. Where she didn't just survive, she thrived, and she made it clear that no amount of uncalled contact could slow her down. Indiana Fever fans won another game against the Atlanta Dream, 81-76. Many things happened during this game. The real question is, why isn't anyone protecting the league's biggest draw? The WNBA's own top brass may have the answer. With the increased attention this year, there has also been increased scrutiny about the quality of refereeing. I'm curious if there has been any discussion about whether referee pay or referee training is being used to ensure that it is as good as it can be. Enter WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelberg, who has been suspiciously quiet while Caitlin Clark continues to take more hits than anyone else in the league. You would think that the person in charge of expanding the game would understand that allowing your star player to get bodied with no support from the whistle is not a good growth strategy, but nope, radio silence. It's beginning to seem like this may be more than just poor refereeing. It's beginning to feel like a planned, covert opposition to Clark's explosive rise, a refusal to acknowledge that she's improving the league, whether they like it or not. Of course, not everyone you know is human. Basketball is a little more complicated than tennis when it comes to officiating, for example. So we're looking at a number of different dimensions, but it seems like there's an internal panic that Clark's fame is too quick and that the response allowed her to earn it the hard way. Apparently just elbows, bruises, and ghost calls, but she refuses to back down. Every bump, no call, and cheap shot only feeds her fire in a league that claims to champion its stars. If the WNBA doesn't stand up for Caitlin Clark, the fans will, because we're not just watching a player, we're watching a generational talent being tested by everything except the rules. You would expect accountability, but instead we've seen a lot of shoulder shrugs and shrug whistles. However, I know it's a passionate issue because every fan group I meet with and every fan group I go to market usually wait and ask it as the last question of the night, but they do ask about officiating, which I appreciate the passion for that. To the referees, the Dream, and Commissioner Kathy Engelberg, this isn't just a game anymore. It's a spotlight, and it's shining bright on everything you're not doing. If this had been a regular season game, I think Caitlin Clark would have flirted with a triple-double because she was heading down that road and only played 23 minutes. Returning to the Atlanta game, Clark dished out assists as if she were hosting a national giveaway. Left hand, right hand, under the hit. You'd think Atlanta would notice, but no. Clark saw the court like a grandmaster sees a chessboard, mapping every move 10 steps before it happened. And when they doubled her, she sliced through it like a hot knife through butter, not even breaking stride. You could practically hear the collective "oh" from the crowd every time she hit the gas. Defenders froze, not because they didn't care, but because they were stuck between admiration and confusion. Caitlin Clark, in 23 minutes of play, 13.6 rebounds, 7 assists, 23 minutes. Caitlin Clark already showed multiple triple-doubles coming this season with the posture of someone adjusting a crooked painting. Casually precise, mildly annoyed, it wasn't already perfect. Every shot was poetry in motion, every swish a syllable. The ball barely touched the net. She placed shots like she was decorating a cake, trying to lead a professional basketball team, and her opponent stood up. Wait until I'm playing 30-plus minutes. Wait until I'm playing 35 minutes. Wait until my chemistry with my teammates is all over. Wait until Stephanie White fine-tunes this offense around me a little bit more. Tweak something here, tweak something there, and we get really good results. The Dream looked less like a defensive unit and more like extras in a biopic about Caitlin Clark's rise to greatness. The defensive awareness of Caitlin Clark was the kind you'd expect from someone with GPS X-ray vision and the instincts of a hawk. She anticipated every screen, slid perfectly into lanes, and fought through contact like it was a pre-game routine. When Atlanta crashed the boards, Clark didn't just box out. Instead, she boxed them up and shipped them off with a tracking number. In the meantime, if you're an Indiana Fever fan, you have to be happy with what you're seeing from Caitlin Clark. Hits, then a viral meme. and maintained her composure like it was glued on. By halftime, the typical player would be seeking medical attention or legal advice. Clark, however, came out smiling and ready for more. From where they are coming from, she hits them and cashes. It's easy money from a distance, right? And that's not the only play she makes. She shoots a lot of them. Let's go back to the officiating or lack thereof. At one point when she does, the WNBA's biggest star can be thrown around like a beach ball at a concert, and the league's response is a shrug. It's not just about Clark, it's about setting the tone for every young player. The referees, who apparently had better things to do than stare at the ceiling and think about their weekend plans, were the only ones who saw it. The whistle didn't even flinch. It's like the officials were trying to get scouted by the WWE and believed that no calls was part of the audition. But broadcasters couldn't conceal their disbelief. They began with analysis, moved into sympathy, and then gradually slid into existential dread. The girl watching is thinking that in order to succeed in this game, you better be okay getting clotheslined with no consequences. It's a bad look, plain and simple. Kane Clark looks much stronger, thicker, more defined, and more muscular in the blue uniforms. The clothes are fitting a little tighter this year than they did last year, and I don't think she lost a size. Step back threes, pocket passes, buzzer beaters, and if it wasn't in the playbook, she ran, and if it wasn't, she came up with it on the spot. In the third quarter, they were practically pleading for adult supervision on air. One muttered, "Wow," so many times that it became his unofficial catchphrase. You could tell they were just one body check away from requesting federal assistance. However, Clark didn't complain, make any wild gestures, or stare down referees like a soap opera villain. In response to something new, she said, "Cute, now watch this." So aside from the fact that it appears as though she's shooting and hitting threes with ease, in the video, you can see that she's getting stronger than she was a year ago by looking at her impressive stats. 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists in 23 minutes of action. And the fact that the Dream were out of tricks by the fourth quarter, they hope to throw full-court pressure or half-court traps. And the WNBA claims it wants growth, fans, and marketability. But if your officials are allowing Caitlin Clark to get steamrolled like she's in a demolition derby, don't let it happen. Clark, who may have even had a kitchen sink at her, just kept moving like a storm cloud that no umbrella could stop. Surrounded at half court by what appeared to be a defensive intervention, she pulled out a no-look behind-the-back assist that made the entire arena gasp. Fans didn't come to watch a crime scene. They came to see the show. And Clark delivers every night, so don't be surprised when the highlight reels are overshadowed by the controversy. Today is the official start of the Indiana Fever preseason, and it's officially over. The Indiana Fever did finish the WNBA preseason undefeated. Clark isn't asking for special treatment. She's asking for fair treatment. Call the fouls, protect your stars, and let the game be about basketball, not survival. Caitlin Clark will continue to dominate, dazzle, and lead this league into a new era with or without the assistance of the referees as they fumble their whistles and ignore the obvious. With elbows, hard hits, and officiating that could pass for performance art, Clark stands tall, not because it's easy, but because she's that good. Congratulations, referees. You've managed to be both invisible and the most obvious problem on the court at the same time that requires skill or something. This time, she won't only be fighting defenders, she'll be playing the entire system. Please share your thoughts about the dishonest referees in the comments section below. Like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything. Click the video on the screen and we shall see you in the upcoming